if a cyber criminal were to ever break into your machine, there is a high probability that you're being hacked because your passwords are not secure enough. Now, come on, folks. It's time. We've been using computers a long time. It's time to start owning up to password security. And let me show you a few tips that might make it a little easier. So pick out a phrase, a sentence that you will remember. Now, for those of you that are a little more aggressive with your security, you may want to pick a different phrase every 30 days, right? Maybe that phrase is something related to the weather or something related to what's going on in your life. But it can't be too personal, right? It can't be, for example, if you're posting on Facebook that you love to surf, you shouldn't have a phrase that says, I love to surf. That would be bad, right? Because it'd be pretty easy for a cyber criminal to look at your personal profile and see that you love to surf and guess maybe that you're using that as your sentence. So do something completely opposite or something that is not even in your profile. For example, I'm not a big cat lover, but so my passphrase may be, I love cats. All right? Complete opposite, something to make it a little more difficult. And to even make it more difficult, we want to add in there different characters, numbers, capitals, things of that nature. And I have an example here on the screen that let's walk through. So my example is biking is fun. Now notice here in the center of this phrase we have 0117. That means January of 17. This is for those of you that don't want to change this sentence every month, but you do want to change that password. One way to do it is to pick a unique sentence, biking is fun, for example, and change out the 0117. So change out that date to be the date when you change your password. So let's say that you change your password every 30 days. You're going to change that to 0217. You may say, hey, look, I like the number thing, but I don't want to make it this year because that's a little too obvious. I'm going to make that for all of my dates, I'm going to go 5 years. For the first 6 months, I'm going to say all of the years are 5 years in the past, and for the next 6 months, it's 5 years in the future. So, for example, this one would be biking 01112. And then the next month you change it, it'd be biking 03112. So let's take a look at that. Also, one way that you can do it is to add special characters in your password. So for example, biking is fun. I've taken and added an exclamation mark there for the first I within the word. Now I could put it for the second I as well, but I want to change it up. So maybe I always remember, hey, look, if there's multiple characters in one word, I'm only going to use the first character. All right? Again, mix it up a little so that the hacker gets confused, right? We want to make it as hard as possible on the guy trying to break into our system. And so here in this example, I've changed to an exclamation mark for the first I in biking. I've changed, of course, my date, which is fluid, right? The 0117 we talked about earlier. And then is fun, I changed that I into an exclamation mark and that S into a dollar sign. And then fun. Now I may say, although I don't represent it on this screen, there's lots of variations of this. So make it yours, right? Maybe I say, hey, the last word in my sentence will be all caps, right? So, or maybe the first word starts with a capital. Whatever works for you, or maybe it's the fourth character is always a capital. What I would suggest is that you have something that's consistent. This, biking is fun, where you just replace the number in the middle. That's the easiest password, but way better than those of you that are still using password 123 or some very simple password that you can remember. Maybe a spouse's birth date or your birth date or something. Now, as we conclude this video, you can also use dual factor authentication. So for those highly sensitive passwords, you want to employ different tools. I happen to use Yubico and LastPass. So let's talk about Yubico first. Yubico is a dual factor authentication that runs in your USB port, and it also works on the back of a phone, so it goes with you everywhere you go. The nice thing about Yubico is that it dual factor, meaning that if I don't have my key, I'm not getting into that site. So my online banking, for example, I set up with Yubico. The first thing that happens is that it prompts me for my password, right? My master password to get in, which is very, very secure. And then it asks me for my thumbprint for dual factor authentication. Without the two, I'm not getting in. So that means that a hacker, even if they guess your get access to your machine, if you've locked down with dual factor authentication, for example, your online banking, that they will still not be able to get to your online banking. Of course, you don't want to leave your online banking on all the time, but it automatically logs you out most of the time on most of the sites. So this is a great way to secure and add dual factor authentication. One last tool I'll tell you about is LastPass. Now LastPass is a password protection program. I have found it to be the best in the industry. There are many out there. The one thing you want to make sure of is that your password manager encrypts the data both at the local site, right, where you're making the passwords, and in the cloud. So you don't want your passwords in your password manager floating around as clear text. When you enter them in on your machine or your Android device or your Apple device or whatever, your tablet, you want to make sure that they stay encrypted there. And then when they transfer for storage up at the cloud, so that you can have multi-use of this password manager, you want to make sure that they're moving up there in an encrypted fashion. And when they sit there, data at rest in the cloud, they want to be encrypted there as well. So LastPass does that. LastPass will allow you to create very strong passwords. It gives you a tool to check your password health and make the changes, and it allows you to use Yubico with dual factor authentication. I would strongly suggest, especially in light of these recent attacks, check your password strength today. Don't hesitate, and I guarantee you that your cyber world will be that much more secure.